I'm Mark, and this is the Mr. Productivity Podcast, the podcast that's all about solopreneur productivity simplified and delivered weekly in bite-sized 30-minute or less episode. Now, on today's episode, I'm going to be sharing a baker's dozen productivity tips for solopreneurs. If you're not familiar with that term, a baker's dozen is 13. Now, before we dive into the heart of today's episode, I have something special to share with you. Every month, I host a live masterclass that is aimed at helping you increase your productivity as a solopreneur. Now, we've already covered a wide range of topics, including gaining clarity in your work, effective daily habits, decluttering your workspace, maintaining health and wellness, and mastering time management. And we're just getting started. So if you're looking to ramp up your productivity and achieve more as a solopreneur, these classes are a treasure trove of insights and practical tools. Just head on over to my website, mrproductivity.com/masterclass. to sign up for the next live masterclass. And remember, Mr. is all spelled out, M-I-S-T-E-R, mrproductivity.com/masterclass. And if you miss the masterclass part, if you just go to mrproductivity.com, you'll see live masterclass right there in the menu bar. You can learn from these interactive sessions, engage in a like-minded community, and transform the way you work. So, what are you waiting for? Head on over to mrproductivity.com/masterclass and sign up for the next masterclass right now. Okay, let's get started. A lot to cover today. And remember, I promised you these will be bite-sized episodes. So I'm not going to go into these Baker Dozens productivity tips exhaustively, but I want to give you some fodder to think about. And you may be doing some of these, and maybe you've done some of these and stopped doing some of these, and you think about, I should do that again. That's what the whole point of this episode is. So number one, plan out your week. I have been saying for years on the podcast, on social media, to anyone who would listen, always tell your time where to go instead of wondering where it went. This means not just work days, weekends, holidays, vacations. I don't care if you're going to binge watch Netflix the entire weekend. I want you to plan to binge watch Netflix for the entire weekend. I hope that makes sense. Now, will your plans change? Of course they will. That's the joy of life. But give yourself the time to sitting out on Sunday and going, okay, what do I need to do this week, and what do I want to do this week? Number two, set goals, but just don't set goals. Typically, if people have goals, they do it once a year, sometime in January and December. Sometimes we call these New Year's resolutions. What I want you to do is I want you to come up with some crazy long-term goals, like goals that there's no way you could accomplish them this year or maybe next year or in the next 5 years. And I want you to, wait for it, write them down. Not once a day. I want you to write them down twice a day. Now, there's a lot of research that says people that write their goals down have a much higher likelihood of them achieving them. Can you imagine what will happen to your goals if you write them down twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening before you go to bed? Try it out and tell me if it doesn't excite you and the goals don't start happening. Number three, determine your peak productivity time. I wake up at 5 a.m. 7 days a week, including weekends, holidays, and vacations. But maybe you are a night owl. Maybe your peak productivity time is between 9 p.m. and midnight. You need to find out when your peak productivity time is and do your best work then. Number four, meal prep or planning. Now, I work from home. Maybe you work from home as a solopreneur as well. You need to think ahead instead of waiting until you're hungry, because when you wait until you're hungry and you're like, I don't want to cook a meal, what are you going to do? DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats. No, that's not good. You need to eat good food. So spend some time when you're planning your week. What are you going to do about eating throughout the week? Number five, get ready for the day. Whether you realize it or not, you have a morning routine. It may not be structured, it may not be established, but you have one, and it probably changes every day. I want you to create yourself a morning routine that works for you. If you have kiddos, if you have a sick spouse, if you have your in-laws, figure out a morning routine that works for you and use it to get ready for an incredibly productive day. Number 6, don't multitask. You can't multitask. The research proves that there is a very, very, very teeny tiny percentage of our population globally that can multitask. The odds of you being one is really small. So just work on one thing. If you want to switch tasks, bring the one you were working on to a close and then start the new one. Number 7, self-care. You need to take care of yourself. You need to exercise. You need to spend time in silence. You need to spend time eating right. So make sure you're focusing on taking care of yourself. You cannot be productive if you are not feeling well emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Number 8, embrace the power of airplane mode or do not disturb, or if you have iOS 15 or greater on an iPhone, focus mode. You need to work without distractions. So embrace these things. Maybe you turn your phone off. Maybe you lock it in the drawer. Not all the time, but when you really need to focus, you need to embrace these tips. Number 9, work on a pet project every day. And if you don't have a pet project, go get yourself one. Something that's not really what you do for a living, but you're interested in. Maybe it's gardening. Maybe it's creating a YouTube channel or a podcast. Work on a pet project every day. Number 10, protect your inbox. If you are a solopreneur, you probably have, well, you should have a professional email address, not Hotmail, not Gmail, not iCloud, not Yahoo, but a professional email address that's tied to your website. But don't use info at, president at, sales at. Create a name that spammers won't be able to detect. So maybe your name is, I don't know, Michael Jordan. Well, maybe you do themj at your website.com. Okay, you see where I'm going here? You don't want it to be easily guessed because spammers will find it out. I have a very unique email address and I get very little email. And it's the email that I do get is the email I do want to get, if that makes sense. But if I get an email that I don't want, I report it as spam and I delete it. So if you get an email that you don't want, don't just delete it. Make sure you report it as spam. So then your email service provider will move it to the appropriate folder. Number 11, search for tools that can help you, but there's a caveat here. Avoid looking for the perfect tool. That, my friend, is a form of procrastination. There are a lot of great tools, especially apps out there, but not just apps. There's also technology. But there's a big difference between finding a tool that'll help you and wasting time finding a tool that'll help you. Maybe you need to rewind that part again to hear what I just said, but there is a big difference. Number 12, have work hours. I work from home, and my office hours are Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. Central Time. And I usually shut my computer down around 5 o'clock after I go through and make sure I've replied to all the comments and answered the emails, and I actually put my MacBook to sleep. And then I spend time with the family. You need to have work hours. Work hours is not 24/7, 365. You need to have work hours. Maybe you need to post them where you and your family can see them. And I want you to adhere to them. You need to work when you work, and you need to spend time with your family when it's family time. And number 13, outsource, delegate, automate, and eliminate as much as you can. Now, if you've been following me for any length of time, you've heard me talk about the ODAE method, ODAE. It stands for outsource, delegate, automate, and eliminate. Now, I have a full-blown episodes on the ODAE method. I will link it in the show notes below. Note to Mark, don't forget to add it in the show notes below. But all it is things in your life that can be outsourced, you outsource. Things that you can delegate, you delegate. Automate, you automate. And my favorite letter is E, eliminate. Are you doing things that don't need to be done anymore? Really important. So these are 13 rapid fire productivity tips for solopreneurs. And here's my question to you. Which one of these things aren't you doing now that you think would bring value to you? I want you to commit to yourself and maybe your accountability partner. If you don't have an accountability partner, find me on Twitter or LinkedIn or one of the platforms and send me a message. And I want you to commit to doing one of these 13 that you're not currently doing, because when you have accountability, it changes the game. Now, I want to thank you for your time, for listening to this episode. But before you leave, don't leave. Please don't leave yet. Please. Thank you. You're still here? Great. Head on over to MrProductivity.com. There you can find out about my upcoming live masterclass. All you have to do is click the menu button that says Live Masterclass. You can find out everything you want to know about me and even more. It's all at MrProductivity.com. Remember, Mr. is all spelled out M-I-S-T-E-R, MrProductivity.com. And if this episode served you, I'm giving you a lot of homework today. If this episode served you, please share it with some of your friends. If you got value out of it and you think they would too, please share it. Let me help them as well. So again, thank you for your time and attention for listening to this episode of the Mr. Productivity Podcast. I'll be back next Monday with a brand new episode. But until then, stay productive and of course, stay positive.